Yes, people, welcome back to the Big Steve Show. So excited today. Special guest, Manchester City legend and friend of mine, Gillingham 99 original member, officially part of the worst ever Manchester City team in history, but we fucking love him more than the present day. Super Kevin Horlock. How are you, Kev?
I'm brilliant, mate. I've always thought it was soup for Kev, not super.
Soup for Kev. Well, that's what he says. Well, listen, you can do what you want. There's plenty of soup knocking about if you want some soup.
I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. Obviously, I've been lucky enough to bump into you a few times on away trips. It's good times, mate, at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, it's brilliant, mate. And listen, you know, I don't have to tell you what the City fans think about yourself and that. And like we've had this conversation before, like when you actually dig it, the 99 team was the lowest we've ever been, really. But the love that team gets, it's incredible, isn't it? I mean, every time I've been away with you, I've seen you're getting mobbed all the time, and your relationship with these fans is incredible, mate.
Yeah, it's for life. I think Blues just appreciated. Look, my time at City was the best times of my life. I wish I could live it over and over. It was tough at times, but the bond I have with Blues is special. I think they appreciated that. I sort of played like a fan. I appreciated playing for their football club. And look, that team was terrible. We know that. And I wasn't the most gifted footballer, but I give absolutely everything I had and would run through brick walls and face first for the club and the fans club. And it was such fond memories.
No, listen, it was. Going back to the beginning, Kev, obviously you were at Swindon Town. You was doing okay. Let us know how the move came about. Like, I know Steve McMahon was the manager there at the time. He was ex-Manchester City. But weren't the other teams in for you as well at the same time? Did you have a dilemma?
Yeah, it was. I had a really good relationship with Steve McMahon. Like, I loved him. He sort of come in as player manager. Obviously, I'd seen him play in a really good Liverpool team. And I played alongside him in midfield, and we were pretty close and honest with each other. And at that time, I was the most sellable asset at Swindon. They were in a bit of difficulty financially, and he sort of kept me informed. There was loads of clubs looking. Everybody was there. I was scoring goals for midfield, so it was something that everyone was after. So on the day, it was funny actually, because we'd played Wolves away on the Wednesday, I think, and I was a little bit poorly. And on the Thursday, I woke up and Steve McMahon had rang me and said, "Look, we've had an offer from Birmingham and an offer we've accepted from Manchester City." So I sort of said, like, what's happening then? What do I do? Like, is there going to be any more? He said, "Look, there probably will be." He said, "But if I was you, I'd get in your car and drive to Manchester." So I trusted Steve immensely. He was really good for me. So without another thought, I was poorly, but I put a suit on, jumped in my sponsored Mazda, white Mazda, mate. Oh, hairdresser's car, mate. And yeah, drove up the M6 to meet Frank Clark and Franny Lee.
Right. So what was your first impressions of Main Road? Obviously, Moss Side is not the most welcoming of places. Did you just nearly pull in and think, "Fuck that, I'm going home," and drive out of there quick? Or was you never played before that? Yeah.
I think you bloody know, mate. I scored an own goal for Swindon that season. The cross come in and I scored the winner, I think, that year for City. So I've scored an extra goal for City that no one talks about. I actually went to, is it Mottram Hall, to meet Frank Clark and Frank. Look, I was signing whatever. I just wanted to play football. It wasn't about money for me. Obviously, I got a pay rise because I was going to a bigger and better club, but it wasn't about that. I was going to sign whatever. So I went to Mottram Hall. I agreed to sign. I had a meal with Frank Clark and Franny. A bottle of champagne was open. I felt poorly, so I didn't drink any of that. Went to my room. What a room. Suite, 4-poster bed, jacuzzi bath, dining room, make the lot. Next morning, I had to go for medical. Signed everything at Main Road then after that, which was my first time. I'd obviously been to Main Road as a City player, which I loved. And to this day, I miss it massively. After training, went back to the hotel. I was in a bloody different room, mate. I was in a box room that you could turn the bath on by laying in the bed. That suite had gone. And that moment of, right, Kev, you've made it. Reality kicked in, mate. And obviously I become a Blue, which I was absolutely chuffed with.
So they rolled out the red carpet until you signed the contract. And once the contract was signed, it was all pulled back and that was it. Box room job.
Yeah, box room, mate. Box room.
I'd have been Bernard Alford, to be fair, though. He was a bit tight, Bernard, with the old pennies. So he's probably done that.
What a fella, though. What a fella. I think I invited him back to my house, actually, Millennium. We didn't have a game and I'd had a few drinks and a party the night before with all the lads around, like smoke machines and all that. And we trained at Main Road, running up and down the terraces. And I'm sure I invited him back that afternoon to come and have a beer with me at my house. But he was a great fella. But, yeah, he was involved with everything at City. And no doubt he had a say in that big suite being pulled away from me.
Well, this is it. This is the game, innit? Get him to sign it, put it all on. He's thinking he's on the gravy train, and then the reality kicks in. You know what I mean? But I remember when you signed. I remember people. A lot of people. King Clancy was about then, so a lot of people were giving Kinky a bit of grief. He was getting kicked about a little bit, and sort of the Manchester Evening News sort of narrative was about, we're going to get Kevin Horlock in. He's going to come into midfield. He's probably going to look after King Clancy a little bit. The first game, I remember, it was Oxford. Away, it was on TV, wasn't it, like ITV or something? King Clancy absolutely fucking destroyed him.
Yeah, it wasn't an ideal first game for me because obviously a player from Swindon playing against Oxford, I got a bit of stick that day. But I remember, like, so I went home because I obviously had 2 young children at the time, so I went back to Swindon and then met at Oxford. But I would still remember it till the day I die, walking in, obviously Oxford's ground. It wasn't very big, obviously, but pulling on that shirt for the first time, I think the gaffer actually played me left side, like left sort of wing, and I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, I'm not the quickest. I ain't got much trickery in me, but I will work hard. But I did okay, and I still remember I missed a header which I should have scored, but I had the best view in the house that day. Kinky was unreal. He was unplayable, and we obviously won the game, and he ran riot, and obviously that was the start of it. And I loved every minute since. There was obviously some tough games and tough days in my time at City, but I'd live it all again over and over.
So that first season under Frank Clark, I mean, was it a big? And we're looking at the club from them days, and the rumours coming out of the club was that it was a little bit of a shit show. Obviously, it was a sleeping giant. On paper, it's a big, massive club, but you know, apparently behind the scenes, it wasn't the most professional. It wasn't the greatest, but. I mean, what were the biggest differences for you when you moved, obviously, from Swindon to City to Main Road? Did you feel a different level of pressure? Like, did you think, you know what, these fans, 30,000 at Main Road every week, if we start to, you know, not play, we're going to get it in the neck? Or did you feel a little bit different? Yeah,
that was there. I think my initial thought was, wow, this club's massive. And I felt that I was joining a club that was underachieving. I think that they'd obviously been in the Premier League the season before, 2 seasons before, and had some big names on big money. There was so many players there, players that wasn't featuring, that they were obviously trying to get off the wage bill. And there was a group training over there that they're trying to get rid of. There was young lads coming involved. It was mayhem at the time, and it was difficult. But the way I always played, whether I was at Swindon, wherever I was, up until I played non-league, right at the end, I just give everything. I think as fans, I think they can appreciate that. Look, I was going to make mistakes. I had flaws. I wasn't very quick. I wasn't very good on my right foot, but I played like a fan wherever I went, and they sort of took to that. It was tough because we didn't have the greatest team. Obviously, the bigger names were trying to get pushed out the door, so wasn't featuring. So there was a lot of turmoil going on. and it was difficult at times.
A massive squad, massive,
yeah,
loads of players milling about there.
I think Joe Rawls said in an interview, didn't he, that when he obviously took over, I think it was 50 odd pros, which is ridiculous. But obviously changes were made and it was tough, and there were games where we struggled, and fans were vocal, and rightly so. They had every right to be. But when push come to shove, the fans were the difference. The worse we got, the better they got. It was the most bizarre scenario. And I think it could only happen at City. I don't think it would have happened at any other football club. We were terrible. We were sliding down the leagues. We were losing to teams or clubs that we shouldn't even been playing. And the fans were ridiculous. They were selling out away stands. They was in the home end. It was just the most bizarre. And obviously there come a point where players did move on, and we slowly improved slightly as a squad. And there was, and I will mention it was a big moment. Obviously Andy Morrison come in, and we needed that leadership. And we sort of just gelled, and we become a family, and the fans were a big part of that. And we were desperate to give them a bit of success.
Yeah, the season after Frank, obviously Joe came in, we got relegated. I went to Stoke that last game, won 5-2. Every window in the fucking coach got bricked. The massive brawl outside the ground, driving down the motorway on the way home with no glass in the coach, I'm only a young lad, I'm thinking, fucking hell. Don't know if I can cope with this anymore, you know what I mean? We've just been relegated. I think I got back to the pub, Arsenal had won the league, United fans was on us like mad. And I just remember thinking, I think we're fucking doomed. But do you know what? You guys must have felt it as well. You know what I mean? Went to Stoke, won the game, went down. That summer, you know, I thought a lot of our guys were going to jump ship. I thought a lot of them were going to get off. You know what I mean? Surely offers must have come in for some of our players. We had some great players.
Yeah, obviously Kinky moved on, didn't he? That day was bizarre because I'd been injured, actually. I got injured at West Brom. I'd just been given the captaincy, and I got injured in the first game at West Brom. So I hadn't played for like 6 weeks, nearly 2 months. I actually had injections in my knee. I couldn't kick a ball side foot 10 yards, but Joe asked me, would I have an injection and play? I shouldn't have. Played. I scored, I think Goat scored as well. And it was bizarre because obviously we knew the other results weren't going our way. After the game, I left. I went back to Swindon. I flew to America with my 2 young children and went to Disneyland. My knee ballooned up. I didn't ever think about leaving. Like, I was distraught. I was broken because I knew how much it meant to the fans. Obviously, I've not supported City all my life, but it became a part of me. You can't help it. I can't explain it. A lot of players say it, but it becomes in your blood. And I had just a relationship, and I love it to the day I die with Blues of that time. I was absolutely devastated. And Blues have asked me and said, "Oh, thank you for staying." I was like, "Thank you for staying." I signed a contract. I weren't going to leave City until I got told I had to go. In the end, and we'll talk about when I left in the end, but I was never going anywhere. I was part of the reason why that club went down to that level. So I was going to stay there and give everything as long as I was needed. And I think a lot of the other lads did. And obviously they talk about games, obviously season after. I remember winning at Wrexham. And then we went on a roll where we sort of got into the playoffs, and obviously the 99 Wembley obviously followed from that. But
do you know that Wrexham game, yeah? Obviously I went there Boxing Day, Gerard Vikens. I spoke to another former player, I'm not going to name him, in that team. And he said to me, there was a few players at that time that weren't happy with Joe Royle. There was a few players that had seen their ass. And he said there was a few of them that game thought, you know what, not really going to put it in. Don't like him, want him gone. And he said it backfired immensely. He said they won at Wrexham, and then they literally went on, obviously, and what happened. But that season, 99, it didn't start well. We was a soft touch, in my opinion, like you say, and you touched on it before. How big was the signing of Andy Morrison? Just because looking from outside in, Andy Morrison, nutter, smashed the gaff up at Huddersfield. We're getting him on loan because he's obviously a psychopath. He looks like a bricklayer, and I'm thinking, fucking hell, this is the last thing we need here. You know what I mean? We need to get up. We don't need this guy. But I tell you what, he just, from the outside looking in, obviously he changed our season. But what was he like? First day when you seen Andy Morrison walk on that training pitch, you must have thought Tell me what you thought.
Do you know what? I was a joker. I would always welcome lads with banter. Obviously, Jock coming in, and I will say he was massive for us. He didn't play many games for the Blues, but you can see what effect he had in terms of how highly he's regarded. He was a big moment in City's history, even though I don't know how many games he played, but it wasn't a lot. He come in. I could obviously look and see that he looked a bit of a nutter. And we had a five-a-side. And to be fair, Andy, he looks a brute and he can edit, but he can play. He's a really good footballer and got good technique. But we was playing a five-a-side, and I was on the other team, and he got the ball and went to play a dive, and it went out. And then I said, just let the big donut have it. So he's quiet. He walks alongside me while the five-a-side's going on. He said, keep saying that and I'll put you in hospital. And I was like, Jesus Christ. So obviously from that moment, I ended up mates with him. Look, he's chased me around Carrington. He's chased me out the car park, off the training field. He's been in my house, chased me around a pool table, and I couldn't go back in my house until we had gone. But yeah, I love Jock, but yeah, you want to be on the right side of him. But he sort of let me get away with more than anybody else because he knew I didn't really mean it and knew what my character was like.
No, listen, he was mad. And that season, like you say, the Wrexham game started the run. Just let me touch on the sending off for the aggressive walking. What season was that? Was that season?
Yeah, we're at Bournemouth. The worst game in history. 0-0 it was. Blues had travelled all the way down there. Obviously flattered to
you
see.
do walk with a little bit of a limp. So did you think you had
I'm not an aggressive person, Steve. Do you know what I mean? I'm the least aggressive person in the world. It was probably a little bit of an act. I shaved my hair off. I wanted to be aggressive on the football pitch, but I'm not an aggressive person, and I've got one leg slightly shorter than the other. So if I'm walking quickly, it looks maybe a little bit aggressive. I was walking towards the ref, and he sort of flashed the red card. I've looked over my shoulder. He said, "No, you." I said, "What, me?" And I didn't know. And the report come through saying that I walked towards him in an aggressive manner. I didn't swear. I know there's some things saying that I didn't swear at him, and then obviously got banned for it. But yeah, that's the biggest thing I'm remembered for in my career, which tells you I was probably pretty average. But it's quite funny though. Every time City play Bournemouth, obviously my phone goes off pinging on social media because of it. So I'll take it.
Yeah, everyone's on about that. I mean, right. So the Wrexham game, another player I thought that season, obviously Terry Cook. You know what I mean? Terry was a great little player.
It was a massive signing for us. Obviously, come across from the club just outside Manchester, didn't he? And he had some ability, and he just, I don't know, he just gave us a bit of balance. Like he had great feet, good delivery, chipped in with a few goals. He was a good signing.
So after that Wrexham game, did you think you was going to go on a run, or did you just think, listen, we just got to keep going? We've had a bad start. Obviously, the York City game, people mention about, according to every City fan that was there must have been 40,000 City fans there because everyone claims to have been at York that day.
Yeah, I think it was like, I think the attendance was like 63,000, I think. But yeah, that was the lowest point. The Wrexham game, it was a big win. On Boxing Day, I think it was. It was one of them seasons because we'd had a tough start. We was like the big fish in the pond. Everyone raised their game against us, and we struggled to cope with it. We did, and then obviously Jock come in, Andy Morrison come in, and he was a leader. He got in amongst the lads, our lads, in the dressing room, and he got something out of us as a group that we were lacking. And we sort of just went on this mad run. He would threaten and get in opposition's heads, and it helped us massively. And then obviously we were like a juggernaut. We kept winning games, missed out on automatic, unfortunately, and then obviously went into the playoffs.
I think everybody raised the game for us as well. I remember us getting off trains in mad hillbilly towns and 200, 300 yokels waiting for us because Man City was in town. I only wanted a quiet pint and a pasta. Ended up getting legged all over these wild hillbilly towns because the big boys was in town. But no, listen, I think City fans, we started to believe, you know what I mean? We could see the team was building. I mean, you must have, the camaraderie between you guys in '99 to be at that level, to be playing in front of these fans. I mean, everyone always said to me Kevin Horlock was a joker, but you must have had some tales from back in the day there, 99, with that one. Jeff Whitley and all them boys.
I was involved in most of it, immature really, and I've still got that side to me. I don't think I'll ever lose that. Obviously, I was like that. The Blues that would have seen me in Porto at the Champions League, I was actually working and then end up on the beers and singing and acting a clown. I was always involved, and it ranged like different things. But I was one of them lads. Like everyone's got someone they know where you can say, "Go on, I dare you to do that," and I generally did it. Looking back, it was a little bit immature at times. But do you know what? Joe loved it because we were under pressure. Without really understanding it completely, the football club was in a bit of trouble, like financially, and I think my character probably took that pressure off. I would joke at the most bizarre times. It could be when we're just going out to play a game, but I'd say something and people would laugh, and it would just alleviate that pressure. And to the extent where Joe actually said when he signed me for Ipswich, he signed me more for the dressing room than actually football. So yeah. I was involved.
That's important, though. You know what I mean? Like you say, sometimes you do need players that can lighten the mood. Speaking of Joe Royle, obviously Joe, City fans love Joe. Willie Donaghy as well. People love him. What's your opinion to Joe Royle and Willie and that? And like you say, the pressure, man. David Bernstein, what a guy. You know what I mean? He came in, seemed to steady the ship a little bit. But it wasn't until after 99 when we realised that if we probably wouldn't have gone up that season, the shit was definitely going to hit the fan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've heard that spoken many times. I love Joe and Willie as well. They were so different. Like Joe, I could tell, was a bit of a joker, which is probably why he took to me. Willie was the opposite, the most sensible fella. And to be fair, a really good coach. He was ahead of his time. He had us like meditating and doing stuff like back then, which was unheard of. And obviously, with me in the group, I used to make everyone laugh and take the piss, and like we're meditating, and I'll be like making noises. But everyone does it now. So they were really chalk and cheese, so different, but it worked really well. And I had a really good relationship with both of them in the end. And yeah, it was probably my fondest time. Although it was tough football-wise, Willie and Joe were a big part of my football career.
I remember that season, Nicky Weaver cartwheeling and that. Joe Royle telling him to sack it because he's going to end up damaging his hands and stuff like that. There was a lot of big characters in that team, and like you say, we just fell in love with the team. I think the Man City fans just got to a point where we thought, you know what, we're at the lowest we can be. We've just got to get behind these lads, and we've got to do our job. You know what I mean? And I remember that season. A lot of City fans, even after the treble winning season, they look back and they always say, you say to them, what was the best season? They say 99, because it was a bit of a, I don't know, it was just a bit of us against the world, and let's just go for it. And like you say, we got that to the playoffs. We did the game against Wigan in the semi-final. I remember getting the train from Manchester. I was only young. Thousands of City fans got off at Wigan. We didn't have any tickets. They had some big, massive blue gates on the away end, and everyone just steamed it. It was like Game of Thrones, at the end, everyone was trying to get in the castle. The fucking gate fell down. All the Blues have ran in there. We're all stood behind the net. There's thousands in there. And then we go 1-0 down after about, was it early doors?
The goal was comical, wasn't it? I think Gerrard left it for Weaves. Weaves left it for Gerrard Vikings, and they nipped in and scored, and you think, oh no, here we go. But lucky enough, we managed to get there. Obviously, Goat scored with his booby, didn't he? Leant forward at Romo. Yeah, the celebrations were as if we'd won, obviously, promotion. And maybe as players, we thought our job was done, but God, it weren't, was it? We left it late, didn't we?
There's a story about Sean Goater's boobs, isn't there?
He's got great boobies, mate. I've said it honestly, right? So I don't know how long was I at City? Nearly 7 years. So Goats was there for a lot of that time, and they were just great. Like quite obviously firm. He was obviously a professional athlete, but they were quite pert and a little bit pointy, and he had really good nipples. So every morning, like we'd get changed, like to go out. Honestly, nearly every morning, I used to say, "Goats, can I just have a feel of your boobs? Just one feel, and I'll leave you alone." He would never let me. Never ever. No. Honestly, I did it every day. Every day. Goats, can I just have a touch of your boot? Let me just feel them for a little while. Never let me. And it was funny. We played in a charity game over at Macclesfield about, I don't know, I think it was before lockdown. And obviously, I asked him, we got changed goats, and he actually let me. Obviously, by that stage, they'd got a little bit bigger and not as firm and pert. But yeah, I asked him every day. But what a lad, goats. Obviously, when he first signed, he didn't start scoring straight away, and it was tough. But he scored so many goals and so many important goals. And what a bloke, lovely bloke. And yeah, I love goats to death. Always smiling, but also got the best boobs on a bloke I've ever seen.
That is an unreal story. I remember you telling me that. But you know, with Sean Goater, right? You're right. When he first came, he didn't hit the ground running. He missed a lot. You know what I mean? And then I think he scored a mad ricochet or something against Stockport. And then after that, I mean, if there's ever a footballer that's not, things aren't going right, and he turns it round from being like, a lot of City fans thought, who've we signed here? This guy's not, you know, he's not even comfortable to watch. He doesn't look like he's going to score. Then all of a sudden, he just became a cult hero. I mean, it hit his shin. It'd fly off his knee.
All did. They all did. Yeah. I'll never forget. He scored a goal against Charlton, I think it was.
I've seen it in a volley from about 30 yards.
Yeah, he looked to Weldy. He come over his shoulder, and you think, oh, what a goal. Oh, watch, mate, it's hitting just below his knee. And it looked a world-class fit. But that was goats. Like, he was in the right place at the right time. None of them were really, really clean. But he was just infectious, and he scored goals, really important goals for us at a time when we needed them most. So, rightly so, he'd be held in legendary status for me, because he was a spearhead and the lad that put it in the net, which is, in football, everyone knows, is the most difficult thing to do.
Just to let people know, if anyone wants to ask Kevin a question, I think the lads at City Xtra are getting the super chats, and they're gonna keep him another 5 minutes. If there's any more questions, we'll get them in, and we'll run through a few of them. Another player at City that time, Paul Dickov. Obviously, you and him in '99, you scored the goals, but I think him and Goater complemented each other so well. I mean, I used to say it, Paul Dickov would chase a fucking crisp packet across the pitch. You know what I mean?
The season I signed for City, obviously, we played at the County Ground, I think, just before. And I actually played centre-half that day for Swindon because we had injuries. And I was roaring with him all the game. He was standing on my toes, grabbing me. Honestly, I thought, what a little knob this fella is. Like, I hated him. But he was like that on a football pitch. But the nicest bloke ever off the pitch. We're actually exactly the same age and obviously born on the same day, which is a little bit spooky that we end up scoring the goals in '99. But yeah, you want him in your team. As a centre forward, obviously everyone judges him on goals. He wasn't the most prolific, but the stuff he did, like, he scored goals, but he also chased lost causes. He was irritating. He would get under people's skin, and it sort of was the trigger for us to do it behind him as such. And again, massively important. And like, obviously his goal will be remembered forever because it was at a time when time was running out. And that was the moment where everything changed.
No, it was. And listen, we're coming up to the Wembley '99 part. Obviously, we've just beat Wigan. There was a bit of a premature pitch invasion at Main Road. We've never had a pitch invasion. We just thought, fuck it, we're having it. I remember Sky Sports News saying, "Oh, they celebrated too early," and that. And at the time, us City fans, we had that typical City mentality where you could throw us off the path. So when I heard that at Sky, have they celebrated too early? I'm thinking, shit, we have here. Yeah, everyone's going to laugh at us and that. But I mean, you guys, you just beat Wigan, yeah? And everyone's on the pitch. They're lifting you above their heads like your heroes and that. What's your feeling after that? Because it's like, you don't really want to go back to the dressing room and celebrate because you've not really done anything. But you must be thinking.
Do you know what? Do you know what? My feeling was like, I had goosebumps because I was so pleased that Blues were happy. That we look, fucking hell, they had it tough, but they was actually happy and smiling. But then once that had all died down, and we got in the dressing room, I was thinking, fucking hell, we better win now. We better win from now because that would be the ultimate kick in the teeth. Like, we've raised their hopes and then let them down. So, yeah, I was pretty nervous going into the playoff game in '99. I'm not going to lie. I knew there was so much on it. I didn't know the extent of the club situation, but for me, it was always about the fans that had supported us throughout that season, up and down the country, watched loads of shit football. Their team lose to clubs they shouldn't have ever been playing. So I put quite a lot of pressure on myself, and I don't know, it probably affected us a little bit. We wasn't great on the day. the game itself, well, before we got to the game, I was nervous. It's been out there on social media and bits and pieces. We stayed down in a hotel and it was lashing down with rain. We stayed near Chelsea, I think, or somewhere near there. And it was lashing down with rain. And me and Jeff Whitley had a bet who could stay out in the rain the longest. Joe's fuming. Joe's looking out the hotel, obviously, reception area. There was people taking pictures of us. In the end, me and Jeff took our tops off. And in the end, he sort of dragged us in. But that was the sort of thing that I would do, like to take the pressure off, because I felt the pressure for that game, and I'm sure the lads did too.
Yeah, well, I think there's a few questions. I think the lads at City Xtra are going to put some up on the screen now. So if Jordan's listening, if there's any questions. First one from Andrew W. What do you make of the 115 waffle, Kev? Is it a cartel effort? What do you think of the outcome will be? And thanks for the memories. I mean, it's pretty hard to talk about the charges. Don't think any of us know, but obviously from your point of view, just your opinion, what do you think?
In all honesty, I think it's cartel. I don't think I think they see that Manchester City is a club that is here to stay. They've got fans that didn't go away when they was in the worst position ever, and they don't want them in amongst it. Like, this has gone on for so long now. Like, how long is it going to go on for? Nobody knows what the real charges are. There's clubs getting charged and then dealt the punishment. Like, what is it? And obviously other fans of other clubs are now just hanging on to that. And look, I've heard your thing on YouTube with the Arsenal fan, and it made me smile. It's one of the best podcasts I've seen where you said, look, I don't care about the charges. I don't care about whatever you say. I don't care about you saying empty seats. You've lived through situations and moments where it's been so low, and you're getting good times now. Even if they do throw 115 charges at City and they can take away every trophy, you've lived it. That's what it's about, not getting old and counting back what you've won. It's living that moment as a Blue and your life as a Blue, and that experience, which is what it's about. I just think, without being too, I think it's a load of bullshit.
Well, no, that's good. And there's some more here. James Derbyshire, Kevin Horlock, we'll love you forever, our kid. All day, top banana. Yep, see, the love's coming in, Kev. Room at the top studio. Hey, Kev, do you still love music like you used to? Didn't know you was a music fan, Kev. Is this?
No, I don't know. I listen to a little bit of Oasis now. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm a lover, not a fighter. A little bit of Ed Sheeran and that, but not massively into my music, I must admit. I don't know. He must have seen me on a night out. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I ended up, I don't know, singing.
MCFC lads, he's got a great channel, Luke. Your favourite current City player?
Ooh. Do you know what? I'm a big Phil Foden fan. Obviously, there's so many to choose from. I'd have loved to have played in midfield with Kevin De Bruyne. But Phil Foden, it's sort of like fairy tale, and it is like, obviously I was lucky enough to play for Manchester City, like your club, and loved every moment. Like, for him to be a Blue and local and do what he's done and win things. Like, Phil's got so much ability. I just hope he stays injury free, because he'll have some career and win some trophies.
Next one, Scott. Super Kev, did you invade the pitch when we won the league last season?
Yeah. Look, you know the story. I don't really want to go into detail, but obviously I got banned from working at City because I sort of had a few beers in Porto and had a good time with the fans. So obviously I have to buy my tickets. I think I paid 200 odd quid for 2 tickets for me and my lad. They can't.
It's a disgrace, that, by the way. It's a disgrace, that, by the way.
That is what it is, mate. Look, I'm not bothered. My love for the football club is the fans, not the business as such. It's about the Blues for me. So they can't stop me going. So yeah, I did. I bought 2 tickets for 280 quid. I think me and my lad went up the night before. Met a few lads. So I am president of Blakely supporters branch. So I met Scotty Jones and all the boys there. We had a few beers, watched the game, and when the final whistle was over, I went on the pitch. Yeah, I did. And I've got a picture. It's bizarre. I had a hat on. I did pull my hat down like that so no one would see me, because obviously I didn't want to get double banned from the Etihad. But yeah, I was on the pitch. It was a bit bizarre, really, a bit strange. Listen,
fair play. Listen, that's a testament to you as a man, though. You know what I mean? You're just one of us, mate. And at the end of the day, we appreciate that. You know, man, the fact that you have to buy tickets for this football club after what you did for it, is a joke in itself. We won't go into the politics of it, but just I've seen you with the away fans. I've seen you all over with us and that, and you are one of us. You know what I mean? And these just by the comments and that, they love you. Here's another one for you. What was your favourite City goal?
Obviously, everyone's going to say the one at Wembley was the most important. Do you know what? My favourite City goals, some will probably not even remember it. It was when we had Ali Benarbia. We were down at Gillingham. I think we'd already was close to winning the league anyway. And I think I played a ball into Goats. Goats sent it back to Ali, and he lifted it. He was like genius. I just carried on running, like obviously really slow because I wasn't very quick. And he's lifted it over the defender, and it was just all one touch everywhere. And as he lifted it over, the goalie's sort of come out to me. I just lifted it over his head. It was like, I don't know, it looks really classy, which obviously I was more of a water carrier than flicks and class. But yeah, I really enjoyed that goal. That was one of my favourites.
Just before I give you this one, a mate of mine, Eddie from Wythenshawe, he reckons you used to have a blue Lexus. Did you?
A blue Lexus? No.
Eddie, you're lying to me. He said to me once.
Look, I wasted a fortune on cars. That was one thing I did do. I always promised myself that when I obviously earned enough money, I'd get a Porsche. So when I first signed, I rented a house in Wilmslow. I'd only just bought a BMW when I was at Swindon, and there was a Porsche garage over the road. So I've gone in there. Went in there. All I wanted was a Porsche, nothing flash. The fella, and I still remember his name, by the way, right? He's talked me up. I've ended up walking out with the most expensive Porsche they had in there. It had exhaust systems, honestly, everything. I think it cost me like 78 grand. And yeah, worst decision. I think I sold it a year later for 46. The kids couldn't sleep in it because it was that noisy. They're crammed in the back. There's no leg room. It was the worst buy I ever made, but I never had a blue Lexus.
Because he said to me that I think he said to me that you dropped him off after training or something once. A couple of kids down in Wythenshawe or something. But I'm going to get
to be fair, we got given blue Mondeos when you played 20 games. What other blue cars? I had a blue Porsche Boxster, but obviously I wouldn't have got people win that. No, not a blue Lexus.
I'm going to get the full story off him and I'll confirm it with you. But he always tells his story, whether he's talking out of his arse. But it is what it is. Cortez Oliveres, do you think that Man City will win the league this year?
Yes. Yeah, look, the season's been a little bit crazy where teams have lost more games than they normally would and against teams that they normally wouldn't. But yeah, I think no one will beat City to the league title. Obviously, there's going to be challenges. Liverpool's improved. Obviously, Tottenham are doing okay. Villa, massive surprise. But for me, City win it with players coming back, Haaland back fit soon, Kevin De Bruyne back, Stones. Yeah, City all day for me. They know how to win it. They've got that experience. They know how to get over the line, and that is a big thing when you've experienced it. Obviously, the difficult thing for Pep and his staff are keeping the players hungry. But the way he is as a coach, I think they all buy into that and love him. So, yeah, City all the way for me.
Hugh Murray here says, favourite derby moment? Favourite
derby? What, me involved? I didn't have too many, to be fair. I didn't play at come on as sub at Main Road when I think we won at Main Road. I come on late. I remember being involved in a draw at Old Trafford. Other than that, not too many memories. Obviously, the big one for me, which I go on about all the time because I've got a few Man United fans as friends, the 6-1. That's the best. Yeah. Until 6-1's beaten and it's 10-1 like it should have been, the lucky bastards.
Harrison Drysdale, this is Dryer's son, who Dryer from Blakely, who passed away. This is his son, Harrison. Right. What's your favourite scran before the match? Scran. You can tell he's from Blakely, can't you? Coming out with scran before the match.
Chips and gravy. Now, to be fair, I was pretty basic. I didn't often like to eat too much before a game, so I'd keep it pretty basic. I'd possibly a few beans and a bit of toast. Some lads used to eat loads, but I weren't one for that. Look, when you're as slow as me, you need to be as light as possible. So food in my belly would slow me down. So I didn't tend to eat too much. But if it was, it would have been beans on toast probably.
Right. Well, I think question-wise, that's us wrapped up. Just a sort of player you touched on before, Ali Benarbia, man. What a player. Do you know what I mean? He's another one where you look at Ali Benarbia and you think, he ain't a footballer. No chance. And then the guy, he was up there with King Clancy for me for skill. I mean, just the vision of the game and the way he could play. I mean, that first, didn't he just, wasn't he a mad story that he was signing for Newcastle or Middlesbrough or something? He came with an agent and then ended up signing for us.
I don't know what happened, mate, but I remember the day he come out on the training pitch. And look, without being rude, obviously he was getting a bit older. He was a little bit of an odd shape, like quite short, quite big bum, like weird run. So I'm thinking, honestly, I'm thinking he's won a competition to train with us. I'm thinking, who is this geezer like? And he's waddling about. And then training started. I'm thinking, Jesus Christ. So he was unbelievable, by the way. But such a great lad. Like I had a really good relationship with him, and he would give me advice, and I would listen to every word he said. No one really knew who he was, where he come from. I think he'd won French Player of the Year. Like he was playing at Monaco. I'd never heard of him, and he was brilliant, mate. Like a lovely lad as well. But geez, I'd have loved to have seen him in his prime. Because again, I'm with you on it. From what I see at his age, towards the end of his career, he was on Kinky's level. He was. It was
like good. I think we played Sheffield Wednesday away. I think 6-2 or something. We won at Hillsborough.
Yeah, I was up that day. Yeah, he absolutely
unbelievable.
Yeah, but he did it like he did it so often. Like I can't explain. Like because he wasn't quick, but no one got the ball off him, and he see things. He honestly created so many goals, and I love playing with him. That was probably my best season when I played as a deeper midfielder. I had Eyal Berkovic and Ali Benabi ahead of me. Like I was in dreamland. Like all I had to do was get the ball and give it to them. So isn't it?
Eyal was brilliant as well. A little bit temperamental, Eyal, but great.
Do you know
player.
what? Like obviously, I played with Eyal a little bit longer. Like when people say who was the best player you played with, like, and obviously they all wanted me to say Nicholas Anelka, obviously Peter Schmeichel in goal, and this and that. How could we? Eyal Berkovic for me. I always say Eyal because for me, he was such a good footballer, but he didn't try and do it all on his own. He could. He'd go through people, but he'd play football in a way where he would give me the ball and then I'll give it him back. Like, I love playing with Eyal Berkovic. He wasn't the quickest, but he'd go past people. And yeah, look, we all know there's people that didn't like him in his career. The famous kick in the face from John Hartson. He was a little bit like that. I loved him. He said it how it was. There was no airs and graces, but I always say he was the best player I played with. I know there was bigger names and probably as a whole career better players, but my time at City and throughout my football career, I'll always mention Eyal Berkovic because I enjoyed playing with him so much, and obviously we had a good team at that time under Kevin Keegan where we was free flowing. It was probably the best season that I had as a footballer.
Well, we'll go the other way, right? Obviously, whatever, but you've been in a changing room, many a changing room. Is he a player that's come to City and you thought, I ain't having him? He's shit, because we did have some shit. Christian Negui, Vincenzo Mateus Vioso, people like this who probably City fans are thinking, who? Ali O'Toure. You know, is it someone where you thought, you know what the fuck's going on here with him?
Yeah, the first two, but to be fair, the first one you said, Negui was his name? He come to replace me. Like, I don't know where he come from. Look, when you're at big clubs, City was obviously changing a little bit there, where your place was always up for grabs. Like, so you was always under pressure, and he come in, and I think he played at Blackburn away, and I think got sent off. But he was there to replace me, 100%. I know he was. He wasn't the best. Matthias Fuoso, I think he come from the same club as Forlan, who went to United. I think he come for quite big money. He was the worst. He couldn't do keep-ups. Like,
I watched him in training, right, at Carrington, I think it was, when Keegan was there, and you were doing this drill. You was doing this drill where you someone had laid it off and you'd shot, and if you missed, you had to run and do some press-ups or something. All session, all I seen was Vioso doing press-ups. I don't think he hit the target once.
Yeah, it was terrible. Look, to be fair, he was a young lad and he's come over from Argentina, so I don't want to be too harsh. And he wasn't there long, but he didn't.
If you look at his goal-scoring record now, he's actually been bagging wherever he went, in Mexico or wherever. But over here, he was just not that guy, was it?
Yeah, he just wasn't great at the time, and they were two that probably stick out the most. And people will probably, if you ask other players, they'd probably say me, so I don't want to be too harsh.
Lauren Sharvey springs to mind. Tel Ben Haim. These were players for me where I was thinking, nah, we're struggling. I mean, Ben Haim was a good player.
Lauren Sharvey, he was a great lad. I remember one Christmas do, because he'd come from Newcastle. He'd obviously come for quite a bit of money as well. And I remember being me, and he spoke very little English, but we was in a bar. It was early doors, like on the Christmas do. Like I think it was on a Sunday, and we end up in this bar, and I end up buying him a shot of Goldslinger. You know, the bit with gold bits in. Apparently, it cuts your throat and gets you drunker. And so we've done a couple of shots, and then he went, "Oh, I'll get a bottle." And I'm thinking, "Oh, a bit early for that." So I swear, he bought a bottle of this Goldslinger, right? Put it in a pint glass and drank the whole pint. Honestly,
wow.
Look, 15 minutes later, he's stumbling from one side. It was empty because it was so early. Stumbled from one side of the bar to the other. Lads there was a couple of lads the other side. They sort of turned around, come walking, stumbling back into the bar, fell over, had to get a taxi home. Like it was carnage, absolute carnage it was. But he was a great lad. He was a great lad, but obviously one that didn't play many games for City and one that City fans probably don't speak very fondly of, unfortunately.
Well, obviously, right, people call me for having a big head, yeah, which is fair, yeah. Christian Nguyi's head was 3 times the size of mine. And one game, Old Trafford, the derby, I got to my seat, who sat in front of me? Fucking Christian Nguyi. I couldn't see the game. It was massive. I might have had an iron girder in front of me who was that big. But do you remember his handball? Was it against Rotherham or something? He fucking just handballed it in the net.
To be fair, you're right. You're about 6'3", and your head's on a big body, so you get away with it. Good job you didn't have headbutt that day. The game would have got stopped, wouldn't it? But yeah, I can't remember how long he stayed, but he come to replace me 100%. I know, but he obviously weren't great, so that helped my cause.
Yeah, so listen, we'll go back to we're just about, you and Jeff Whitley or Jim Whitley are in the rain outside the hotel. Joe Royle's looking out the window thinking, what's going on? Thousands of City fans are in Wembley, are in London that night, yeah? How are you feeling there that night in that hotel? The pressure is on you. The expectation of the whole of Manchester. We've never been to Wembley for years. We're all there. We're excited. The coach is flying down the motorway. It's like this is the biggest game for us we've ever seen. How do you get asleep at night knowing that pressure? Or do you just literally just Joe Royle or Willie or whatever, did he blank it out? Or can you hear City fans walking past pissed up at night, ballooning and that? Or
no, we stayed out of the way a little bit. I can't remember seeing too many City fans in and around where we were staying, but I didn't sleep. But I never really slept very well in hotels anyway. We'd have a game of cards or I'd be running around corridors. I often tied like a £10 note to fishing wire and put it under the door and wait for people to walk past the door and pull it under. I was always up to stupid games, so I was always messing about. I struggled to sleep that night, but obviously you get laid in the next day. I knew it was massive. Like when we got on the coach and then actually drove to Wembley, it was frightening. Like ridiculous, really, to think it was only a playoff game, not even in the top division to get to the Premier League. It was mental. And you know what? Like I've not got many memories of the game itself. It passed by in a blink of an eye. The things that stand out for me is I remember missing a header. Terry Cooks crossed it and it was point blank and it was just slightly behind me. And I got good contact. And that season I'd scored a few goals. And I would normally score that. And it went straight to the keeper and it played on my mind the whole game. And obviously then we went 1-0 down, 2-0 down. I remember, and that header I remember, and the moment we went 2-0 down and they kicked the ball down in the corner, down in our obviously defensive half. And I remember looking, and on the halfway line, the two centre halves were hugging each other like that, jumping up and down, cuddling. I'll never forget that moment because I remember looking, thinking, "Twats, we're going to have to go. We're going to have to go to without any due respect to Macclesfield, to York again, to Wrexham. They're bouncing, cuddling. Obviously, I didn't know what was about to unfold, but they're the two main things that I remember from that game in that whole 90 minutes.
Obviously, Carlos Sava scored and Big Fat Bob, who later we signed. I don't know why, but we did.
And then they took all the strikers off.
Yeah, they celebrated, though, like mad. So the referee with the added time thing, listen, the celebrations were justified. If you work it out, they were running around, jumping about on that running track and that. So you're 2-0 down there. Obviously, you've just said it. You're looking at the centre half thinking, twats. But I don't know. We kept going for some weird reason. We did keep going. We didn't go flat on our knees. We kept going. And then, obviously, the ball breaks to you, edge of the box. I'm literally right behind that net, by the way. I think there was a Coca-Cola sign just above the net where you can go underneath. And I'm on above that. You've drilled it low in there. Get the ball back in that 2-1. And I don't know me. I just had this feeling because I feel that the whole vibe in the stadium changed. I feel like their whole end just dropped, as if to say, shit. And we just sort of went, fucking hell, we're having this. I mean, you know, you was there, but what was obviously the goal? Tell us about the goal and that. Did you just think, listen, I've just got to get this clean?
I think I was probably running forward for an attack previous. I was that slow. I got there a bit late. It just fell for me. And I've said it before. It was lucky it was on my bloody left foot, I'm telling you. Because from that range, I'm pretty confident with my left. So, I've just struck through it. I did contemplate for a minute, just maybe dinking it, but that weren't a bit of me. So I just thought, right, get a good contact on it and a clean strike, which obviously went in. I had a bit of a David Platt moment, didn't I? I ran and got the ball out the net, a bit busy, but run back. And we always believed we had that was where we had that spirit where we'd go to the end. Like we'd give everything till the end, and we pushed and pushed and pushed. And then obviously that moment arrived. Time was gone, and obviously I think Weaves run and got the ball, and then it was kicked forward. I think I had a little touch on it, then it went to, and it got set off, and obviously there's a slight deflection. But that moment, oh wow, it was like, I don't know, it was one of them of relief, like we'd equalised, but after that, I can't explain, like, because the day had took so much out of everyone. I imagine I was drained. My ankle was so swollen, and I thought, oh my God, we've got extra time now. Like, it was so draining, and obviously extra time was a nonsense. We might as well just gone straight to penalties. They weren't going to attack. They didn't have any forwards, and we looked like we'd lost our legs. We'd give so much to get back into it, and obviously all that emotion had sort of drained us.
I remember the ball breaking to Dickov. Goater's shot sort of blocked. Dickov's got it, and the amount of times that season, I've said it to him himself, I seen Paul Dickov miss from there where he snatched it and it's fucking gone over the bar or it's gone wide. And all of a sudden, he side foots it. He does the proper thing, yeah. It did take a little nick over Bartram's hand and in. But the celebrations, God bless him, my uncle was with me that day and he's passed away. But he, out of our coach of 50-odd, everybody left. Everyone had seen their ass. They were pissed. They'd left. I was a bit upset. I said, I've never been to Wembley before. I'm going to clap the lads off. My uncle said, I'll stay with you. He was in the seat in front. Obviously, when he scored, I remember him grabbing me and all the fucking scenes. It was pandemonium. I remember everyone running back in and going fucking crazy like. And but then I just knew, like you say, I just knew we were going to win it. And the extra time, like you said, was pretty shit, to be fair.
Yeah, there was nothing to know. Yeah, that on the old video, that's a fast forward moment. Nothing really happened. There was no real chances. I think at that stage, both teams, obviously, the disappointment of them being 2-0 up and then 2-0, I think they thought, right, we don't lose it now, get the penalties. And then we was in the same sort of mindset of where, right, we've got back from being dead and buried. We can't lose it from here. So it looked like both sets of players had settled for penalties and see how that went.
Well, I'll tell you what, right? I've watched Man City since '89. And there's been a few moments where my heart's been going and I've been shitting myself and I felt sick and that. But honestly, the worst moment in my life as a City fan where I felt ill was when I seen Richard Edgill walking towards that fucking penalty spot with that ball.
Not as ill as all the lads were, let me tell you. Like, yeah.
Mate, honestly, I thought, who in the right mind has let Edgy?
This was the best penalty as well. Look, he a little bit sliced it for me, and he's gone into the bin.
He did for me as well. He did for me.
He's 100% sliced it. But look, I loved Edgy, right? And I thought the same as him. Oh, jeez. But look, Joe would take it. But do you know what? I knew how much it meant to Edgy as well. Like, he loved the club. He loved the fans, and he'd been through a bit of shit. And mate, I was desperate for him to score, like, because I knew, and you can see it. He kisses the badge after, and I'm glad he scored, but he was close to missing, wasn't he? But he says
you scored one that day, or pen, didn't you?
Yeah, I took the first one. Look, and if you and Blues were shitting yourself, I was shitting myself, mate. I remember walking up.
Tell me about walking towards that spot, and all you can see is that end there.
I felt ill. I can see it on my face when I watch it back. Like, the walk was so long. My ankle was in bits. My ankle was so swollen. I'm walking thinking, shit, I can't miss this. Don't be the one. I can't miss this. I can't let these people down. So I'm walking thinking, right, I'm going to go left. I'm going to go right. I'm going to go down the middle. I'm going to blast it. I'm going to play. And in the end, Mine weren't the best penalty in the end. I sort of stutter, and I put it at the side. The keeper didn't go, and look, it goes in, so no one cares. And obviously now I'll give it the big one and say I was waiting to see what way the keeper went, but I weren't. If the keeper goes the right way, saves it. It was crap penalty. But I hit the target, which is important, I think, in them situations, because a couple of them didn't, which cost them.
And obviously Weaver saved the penalty, decides he's going on a run, running around like a madman, and then the least person you want to capture when you've just run is Andy Morrison.
Yeah, headlock on the floor. Yeah, it makes me laugh when I see that. He obviously got a bit of stick because we lost to Stockport, didn't we, the year after, and he got ribbed when Tony Dinning scored. But yeah, that's what he was. He was a bit of a balloon, and he made saves that day. But I think I could have saved all them penalties. They weren't spectacular, but he was an unbelievable lad, unbelievable young goalkeeper.
Do you know what I remember a lot from that game? I've actually got a picture in my man cave. After the final whistle and everyone was celebrating, all the players got on their knees and bowed to the fans. And I thought, it's getting me a little bit emotional now thinking of it, because these modern day players now, not a lot of them are in touch with the fans, you know what I mean? And them Manchester City fans in 99, they'd had so much shit. Like you say, we've been to all these grounds, we were being told you're not famous anymore, we're being laughed at in boozers, we were scrapping like fucking mad places where we didn't want to be. And we stuck with this team. And we backed you to the end, 2-0 down against Gillingham. We still backed you. And then to see the team at the end just get on the knees, all of them, and bow to the fans. I remember being a kid and thinking, you know what? All that season was worth it, because it felt like we were all on the same page. You guys and us guys were all on the same page.
Well, it makes me a little bit emotional even thinking about that as well, because you were the big reason why we end up succeeding. Because we were down and out. Look, if the Blues hadn't been how they were, yes, they voiced their opinions at times and G'd lads up, and we got stick at times, but every week they were there. They were there in numbers, they were vocal, and that day, like, it was relief as a player and the rest of the players. But that moment, everyone obviously talk about me scoring and Dickie scoring and that 99 team. For me, the fans were bigger than us. Look, it's their club. They played a bigger part than us. We obviously got there in the end, just about. But for me, the fans, and it was about the fans and for the fans. And obviously, I think it was Andy Morrison that sort of said, look, this is what we're doing. And I agreed with him totally. I struggled getting down, I must admit, with my ankle, and struggled getting up. But I think that picture sort of paints the picture of the football club and what it means to players that have played for it, and obviously what it means to supporters. That's for me like a really iconic picture for me, and one I will cherish. And yeah, it was like a relief that we had sort of paid back. The start of the payback had begun. We still weren't there. The club, look, the club always deserved to be in the Premier League, whether it was mismanaged, signing players not good enough. It don't matter. The fan base and the passion that Blues show, that club, Manchester City, needed to be in the Premier League, and that moment was the start of putting wrongs right. So that was a massive day, and that picture will always stick in my mind.
No, listen, it was, and without you guys, we wouldn't be where we are today. The treble journey last season, the European Cup, everything wouldn't have been possible. You know, it all started there. That's why you guys are fondly remembered. And then obviously the season after, just gliding through it, we got promoted again. Blackburn, another game, 75,000 in attendance on the hill. A game that, how the hell we won that game after that they were hitting the bar, the post. I remember the referee running past, shaking his head as if to say, fucking hell, what's going on?
Yeah, it was red hot. It felt like it was like 120 degrees. And yeah, again, we were obviously so close to getting to the Premier League, and on the day we were terrible. They had some good players. Let's not kid ourselves. We weren't firm favourites by any means, but we got battered. We looked nervous. We give the ball away. Obviously, they hit the pole. I can't remember how many times was it, 4. But we managed to get there and end up winning convincingly somehow. And obviously, again, Blues all around the ground, on the hill, in the away end, doing the conga. It was.
We were in their director's box. You had to get Joe Royal in that director's box to come out, because we weren't leaving that pitch. I was on the pitch. We was not leaving that pitch until them boys came out of there. And like you say, to go from 99 and carry it on, Joe Royle and all that, it was unbelievable. But when you see them scenes now, when you see young kids now go, Man City's got no fans, the Etihad and all that, it just makes me chuckle a little bit.
Do you know what? I mean? It does a little bit, but it pisses me off as well. Like you read it because I've seen it, I've lived it. I've been to Macclesfield, I've been to York when City fans are thousands watching crap football. No other fan base would do it, Steve. None. And I'll have an argument with anyone about it. And I remember once someone was saying, "Oh, Etihad, where were you when you were shit?" Right? I put a picture, and it was from that Blackburn game when we'd obviously won. Blues covered the whole pitch, mate. There was thousands and thousands of them, and we was up in the direction. They were all up in the stands. The pitch was covered. That's where they were when we were shit, mate. So they can keep saying it. They can say Etihad and they can say the charges. Yeah, I can laugh at them, but it pisses me off because are they saying it jokingly? Do they mean it? I know the truth, and I'll always know the truth. And yeah, I will try and laugh, but it pisses me off as well because I've seen where the Blues were when we were shit, and I'll tell you where they were. Right in our corner, mate, backing us.
And when it comes to the end of your time there, just tell us how that came about. Was it Kevin Keegan that sold you? Yeah. Did you know in your mind it was time to go? Was you thinking?
No. I got offered a new 3-year deal. So look, I knew the club was changing. I'd been part of a special time, but a dark time in many respects. The club was moving in a different direction where they were spending a little bit of money. Obviously, they were looking in at Premier League and bigger names were coming. And it was funny because we was away at Norwich. I was actually going to sign for Ipswich. So Kevin King said, look, Ipswich may have been in the Premier League then, Craig Burley. So look, he said, you can stay there. We're playing Norwich. You can stay down and speak to Ipswich. And I thought, oh, look, I'm not going to outstay my welcome at City. But then Jeff Whitley broke his ankle. So I ended up getting it on off the bench. And after the game, Kevin Keegan said to me, he said, look, he said, obviously, Jeff being injured out a long time, he said, I'm not going to be able to let you go to Ipswich. He said, and I'll be totally honest with you, you're better than I thought you was. So it was sort of a backhanded compliment, but look, he was a man to his word. The next day in training, he gave me a 3-year contract, which I obviously signed. I didn't want to leave, but I sort of signed that. And then one day, obviously bigger names come in, and I think I'd got runner-up player of the year. I think Ali Benabi had won it, and Keegan had pulled me in and said, look, I've had an offer from West Ham. You haven't got to go. I still had two years left on my contract. He said, I know you're from London. You was a West Ham fan as a kid. You may not play, because I played like 40-odd games that year. He said, you may not play as many games as you have this year. We've got a young Joey Barton coming through who I'm going to give a chance to. He said, it's up to you. He said, you haven't got to. I'll leave it to you. So I went and spoke to West Ham. I took a pay cut. I wasn't on massive money at City by any means. I was probably one of the least paid, but I just didn't want to outstay my welcome. I didn't want to be a player that was sat there for 2 years picking up okay money and just being a bit part of, like, I thought too much of the club. I know, look, in hindsight, it's probably a stupid decision. Financially, it was the wrong decision. But I was, again, I'll go back to it. I wasn't about the money. I was about playing with my heart, just wanting to play football. And I had such an affiliation with the club and the fans. I didn't want to be one that outstayed my welcome. So my time was right. It was right for me to leave and move on and let the club develop and grow into what it is today. Look, I was upset. I was going to West Ham, which was a club I loved as a kid. But yeah, I shed a tear like leaving because it was obviously a big part of my life.
I think what you went through with this football club, the ups, the downs, there's some people have great, fantastic careers where it's been winning. I don't think a lot of football players have gone through what you guys went through. You know what I mean? To come to a club and to get relegated down to the lowest point, to come back, get another promotion, then go back down, then come back up. It was literally like every season something was going on. You know what I mean?
Yes, something was happening. And look, I was always a realist. Like I had a good left foot, really slow. I give everything, but I wasn't a Premier League footballer. Come on, let's have it right. Look, I did okay in the Championship. I'd give everything, and I was good, but I wasn't the player that a club like City needed. I wasn't a Premier League footballer, and I'm honest enough to hold my hands up. Yeah, I could run around and kick people and get in people's faces and score the odd goal, but for the club to move on and get to the levels where the club deserved and the fans deserved to see, that wasn't me. So I sort of just had to sort of be honest and say, look, I've got 2 years left. I'm not going to sit here and take money off a club that I've loved my time here and the affiliation I had. So the fact it was West Ham obviously softened the blow, but it was, yeah. And the biggest, not regret, no, it's not a regret, it's probably the wrong word, but I'd have loved to have gone back in a playing capacity to obviously go on the pitch and obviously clap the City fans and say thank you for everything they did for me, because they backed me to the hilt, and I'll always be thankful for that. And I didn't really get an opportunity to go back there and do that in a playing capacity.
It's a super chat there, just come in from True Dogs. As a newer fan in the USA, this makes me feel closer to the club. Hearing the stories and seeing what it meant to you is great. Thank you both for this. I think I'm a big fan of this, Kev. Listen, we know Manchester City's changed as a club. We know that we're going to get fans from all over the world. But a lot of these fans, they were going to get sticks saying you jumped on the bandwagon. But there is quite a lot of these fans that do take the time to interact with the older supporters. They do take the time to look back at the history and that. And this is why I love shows like this, is because, the older guys like myself and that, we can just reminisce about it. But these younger fans from these different countries, it's important they know that this football club wasn't the football club that it is now. It wasn't always champagne, sign the best footballers, great facilities. It was a struggle at times, you know what I mean? It was a real grit and determination from the fans and from the players to get us where we are now. And like you say, players like yourself, this football club, I think you're not a Manchester lad, but it's touched you in a different way, and you realise that, you know, it's a special football club. So for you to come on and do these shows and that, and to be in the away end, to run on the pitch, you know, to still be around Man City, even after some, you know, unsavoury things have gone on where it's left a bit of a bad taste at the club, for you to still be one of us is a credit to yourself.
The core of Manchester City will always be the fans. Yes, the new fans have seen things, the younger generation, like, you wouldn't have even believed that was going to be possible, Steve, would you? But no. The big thing for me, the club, is the fans. And the fans back then at my time, look, they'd seen good players and good teams before that with obviously Mike Summery, Franny Lee and the rest. But the fans that went through what we put them through and are still about to tell the tale and see the good times, that makes me smile. I'm so happy for them fans to see that, and that never changed. For me, I'll always have an affiliation with Manchester City fans. Obviously, I did a sponsored bike ride, silly, like for a Blue. He contacted me and said, would I? It obviously just had cancer, and said, look, would I put it on social media? I said, do you know what, mate? I'll do it with you. I hadn't been on a bike since I was 15, and I ended up riding from Milton Keynes to Stoke. Oh my God, I was in bits. But that's how I feel about Blues. I'd always have time for them. I'll always do stuff like this. I'll always go to away games. I'll always talk to everybody, because I think it's important that they supported me through really tough times at a time of my football career that I absolutely loved. So I feel something from them, and I'll always give back, and I sort of feel like they're part of my family. It's bizarre. I can't really explain it. It's weird, but that'll always be there with me. Always. I'll always do stuff for the fans if I'm wanted, and I'll always have a beer of them at a away game.
No, you definitely wanted, mate. And listen, we appreciate it here. City Xtra, so grateful that you decided to come on. It just gives the channel a little bit of an insight into what it was like as a player for Manchester City through the years. But Kev, you've got something coming up in Manchester. Is it like a charity event or something you want to tell us about that?
I'm doing a charity event. Obviously, I work for a Haverhill Football Academy. Obviously, we've got a charity arm to that to raise funds for vulnerable children and underprivileged people. So I've got an event up at, is it GMB White House? On the 25th of May. So it's an easy evening with myself. I'm going to have a guest there. Mike McLean's going to compare the evening, and we'll have a drink and we'll have a laugh, and I'll tell some stories that I probably can't tell on here at the minute. It'd be fun, and again, it's an opportunity for me to raise money for good causes, obviously, but also to interact with Blues again. And it's kindly sponsored by Terrace Colt, by the way, who you might know, Steve. I don't know. Oh, you do know it.
Not bad brand.
This is all I wear. This is all I wear.
No, listen, I appreciate that. But your charity event, the White House Club, I think it's in Crumpsall.
Yeah.
An evening with Kevin Horlock, special guests. Where can they get tickets for that, Kev?
It's going to be online, so I will post it on I want to keep saying Twitter, but it will be on X, and I'll get it about, and they will see it on social media, so I will get it out there.
I'm sure the lads at City Xtra will post it as well, so if anyone wants tickets for that, you can go meet Kev, get your shirt signed, pictures, whatever.
Oh, yeah. And there'll be some good auction prizes, because obviously my boss at work, he's mates with people that are involved as kitmen in football, so there will be shirts, good shirts, like Haaland shirts signed and stuff like that. So yeah, it'd be worthwhile, and hopefully I can make you laugh and at times maybe cry with some of the stories. But yeah, look, I'll tell you all about my time at City, the good, the bad, the ugly, and we'll have a beer while we do it.
No, listen, I'm going to be there. I'm going to go down. I can't wait for it. Kev, thank you very much for coming on. It's been a great show. I think we're over an hour and 15 minutes in. I think a lot of Man City fans are going to appreciate this. And just want to say on behalf of all Manchester City fans and the older ones like me, thank you very much for always giving 100% in the shirt. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable, and we appreciate it, mate.
Mate, I appreciate the time I had playing for your football club, your support, and to be fair, Steve, you're a legend, mate. You give Blues a voice. You fight their corner against all these numpties that say empty ad and all that lot. You've lived it, mate. You've lived it. You're the other side. You're now living the dream. And City till I die, mate.
Let's go. Thank you, people. Hit the like button. See you soon. Come on, City.
Yeah, mate.